Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov chess channel and welcome back to our best chess games of all time series. So in this series we're covering the best of the best chess games that have been ever played in chess history, and today I've decided to show another great game played by the former world champion and the legend of the sport Vishy Anand against another respected grandmaster Boris Gelfand. The game was played in 1996, and I think in the 90s both of them, Boris Gelfand and Vishy Anand, were really rising stars. Vladimir Kramnik was also strong in the 90s. Vasily Ivanchuk was also brilliant attacker in the 90s. Of course, Garry Kasparov was still, I think, the best player, but then eventually Vishy Anand became the world champion in chess, and in 2012 both of them, Boris Gelfand and Vishy Anand, played their epic world championship match in which Vishy Anand was much better and he won the game against Boris Gelfand. So let's see now this brilliant attack from 1996. It was the Grand Prix Attack. The Grand Prix Attack we used against Sicilian structures. You can use the Grand Prix setup, the same setup over and over again against any types of Sicilians. You can use it against, I don't know, Najdorf structures, dragon structures. You can use it against French Sicilian structures. Basically, white is playing many times the same mover with the same attacking goal, and then is trying to create some tactical madness all over the board. So let's see now the epic Grand Prix attack here by Vishy Anand against Boris Gelfand. So here e4 was played by Vishy. We have c5 by Gelfand. We have knight to c3 going into the closed Sicilian structures with the move f4. d3 would be then really the closed Sicilian, but now I remove d6 f4, g6, knight to f3, bishop to g7. This was now the normal move order. We have now bishop to c4. We have reached now the Grand Prix attack formation, and the goal is many times in the Grand Prix attack the move f5. Many times white is castle kingside, plays a maneuver with the queen to e1. Then white has fully control of the e file and also of the f file. And don't get surprised if your opponent even sacrifices a pawn on f5 here. After f5, g takes f5, maybe e takes f5, bishop to f5, you could face many weaknesses. So as I said, it's a common sacrifice to sacrifice a pawn on f5. And many times with the move queen to e1, white is also trying a maneuver with the queen to h4. Then it's also trying to create some madness by playing, I don't know, knight to g5. Still this f5 is a tactical goal. Maybe with d3, support the attack here with the knight on g5, with the queen on h4, with the bishop aiming towards h6. So white is creating new attacking opportunities. Especially the cool part is that also this bishop is already dangerous. The knight has a control of the d5 square. So the Grand Prix attack is sort of a formation, beautiful attacking formation with your minus pieces. With the support of the queen, you then try to create some tactical madness. So here I've removed bishop to c4. Boris Gelfand plays normal development with knight to c6. We have d3, e6, kingside castling. So knight from g to e7 is perfectly fine. It's a preparation, a good preparation to play the move d5. You want to kick away this bishop further with an extra tempo. So if you play, of course, knight to f6, then after move d5 you could be vulnerable to some e5 attack. So that's why knight from g to e7 is more accurate than to play knight to f6. So we have now this maneuver queen to e1, and okay, you could maybe now try this idea knight to d4 in order I don't know, to attack the pawn on c2, because the queen has left now the support of the c2 square. But now after knight to d4, c takes d4. Okay, from black's perspective you have some spaces, but now after knight to e2 this is still playable, I think, for white. White attacks the pawn on d4, and still I think the goal didn't change here for white. White will still try to launch this flank attack with g5, g4, pardon me, h4, f5 is still, I think, a realistic opportunity to create some madness on the king side. Then the bishop comes into the game, queen to h4, knight to g3 maybe, I'm not sure, but as I said, many attacking opportunities still for white. So after move queen to e1, we have h6 here by Gelfand. So he's not allowing here Vishy to come maybe with this knight on g5, which would be a very active square for the piece. So here bishop to b3, stepping back with the bishop, because this is a positional idea in the Grand Prix attack. This is a very annoying bishop, and many times black is trying to get rid of the bishop by playing the move knight to a5. But this is exactly what, in my opinion, you should not do immediately. If your opponent didn't challenge you with the move f5, now you should not chase the bishop, because now white can go positionally into the game with the move e5. Okay, you can maybe try to pass room with the move d5, but notice now when this happens, white is having this opportunity to lock the position on the queen side with the move d4, and whatever you do, knight to b3, okay, 8 b3. Now we have also a beautiful attack on the a file, and here after move c takes d4, knight to d4. Look at this, you can maybe try to chase away this knight from the center of the board, but now with bishop to e3, knight to e2, we would have, I think, a beautiful control of the d4 square. And notice in this types of structure, your light square bishop from black's perspective is such a bad piece. It's blocked out by its own pawn structure, and the bad thing is that these are not mobile pawns anymore, so you cannot liberate the diagonal for the light square bishop, so the bishop on c8 will be a paralyzed piece, which is of course not good, and white is simply continuing the control around the square d4. Also, what could be dangerous is maybe here to occupy the weak d6 square. This could be also then a dangerous position for black. So after move bishop to b3, in the continuation we have a6, which is a better idea here for black, because here in the continuation Boris Gelfand is trying b5, and then he's trying to lock the bishop by playing the move c4. So he's not trying to kick away the bishop with the minor piece, he's trying to kick it away with the pawn storm here on the queen side. So we have now e5 immediately here by Vishy Anand. We have knight to f5. Now when the f5 square was liberated, it's a new good square for the piece. Now Boris Gelfand is trying to get an outpost around the square d4. So here in the continuation we have king to h1, and there is now really a wild line that I think many times you see in the Grand Prix Attack, the move g4. And the problem I think here is that a potential, I don't know, knight from f to d4 could have been played, knight to d4. This wasn't played in the game, but I wanted to show you how dangerous really this Grand Prix Attack can be. Then something like knight to d4, and then after queen to f2. This is also many times an attacking motif in the Grand Prix Attack, to maybe somehow liberate the f file and then create some tactical madness on this side of the board. So, but okay, here Vishy Anand played king to h1. This is a good choice still, because many times you're vulnerable to this ideas. Queen to b6, when the king stays on g1, look at this, then you have this one, discovered attack, c4, you create a check, and then you trap the bishop here on b3. So you should not forget about this. I've lost many times in blitz bullet games the game like this, maybe not in the Grand Prix Attack, but in a similar way. Many times we forget that this diagonal is open and that the bishop could be hanging. So be careful when you are playing the move f4, then of course the king is sometimes a little bit naked. So okay, after move king to h1, we have knight from f to d4, and here Boris Gelfand makes maybe a slight inaccuracy. He should have probably played d takes e5, because then the game would lead into this f takes e5, and here after kingside castling, okay, knight to e4 would be the continuation, maybe to attack the pawn on c5, and also maybe to have further control of the d6 square. But now after knight to e5, bishop to e5, now actually the fun would start with this idea g4. And I'm showing you this line now. It's really just a stockfish, I don't know, line. I would not maybe get to this line by myself, or maybe this is just a ridiculous line that I'm showing you, but I wanted to show you how really the Grand Prix Attack can be really dangerous, and how sometimes you can really miss so many tactical opportunities, because probably you will reach many times a similar position where black gets challenged with the move g4, and white is trying to attack your knight on f5, but you should not retreat here with the knight. That's why I'm showing you this line, because knight to d4 is of course not good, because you lose the pawn on h6. But now instead of this move, you could play here a brilliant move c4. c4 creates really some madness. First of all, let's see possible continuations. If you try maybe bishop to c4, then we have this one, b5, and you see now if you step back, then we play bishop to b7. Okay, you have your fun, you take out the knight, but now after e takes f5, you lose now the battle here around the square e4. You could maybe try, I don't know, bishop to h6, it doesn't matter, but still we want to take, and now we're threatening really some dangerous discovered attacks against the king. What you could do after move c4 here is maybe to take out with the pawn. You don't want to get deflected here, you don't want to get your bishop on c4 where the bishop could be attacked with move b5, but actually again b5 is working, and that's why I'm telling you about this kind of lines, because I think you have to know them if you're facing the Grand Prix attack. After move b5, here in the continuation, okay, again, white could have his fun by taking out the knight, but again, our goal from black's perspective didn't change. The king is now naked here in the continuation. You could even try this one, but it doesn't matter. With queen to d4, this piece will be taken for sure. Okay, you can take out this one, but rook to f7, here we can play, and now after bishop to e4, you're getting even checkmate. So this is not a way to go. So as I said, really, I'm sure that you would be frustrated if you would not have seen such a move like c4 in this types of ideas. If your opponent attacks you, that you would miss maybe a counterattack with the move c4. So okay, here from king to h1, as we said, Boris Gelfand played a slightly inaccurate move. He probably was annoyed by the possibility of the move g4, but now Vishy plays knight to e4. We have knight to f3, rook to f3, and now after d takes e5, we have knight to e5, and here Vishy steps back with the move rook to f1. And okay, Vishy has lost a pawn. The problem, I think, again, still for black is here that if you castle immediately, then you have a beautiful tactical stunner here, bishop to h6. That was, I think, a huge problem for Boris Gelfand, that he could not have castled after move bishop to h6. Look at this, bishop to h6, now knight to f6 is going to happen. You have to play something like king to g7, but look at this, now the queen comes very active into the game. There are now some discovered attacks with knight to g4, knight to, I don't know, knight to e5, knight to b6. So you find now probably the best way, but the discovered attack against the king now is the most important tactical shot. So kingside castling is not working here. What also is probably not working here is b6 to protect your pawn on c5, because here bishop to f4 could be an idea. Then you could maybe kingside castle again. Maybe this idea with bishop to h6 is working, but you could also try to play a calm line with queen to g3, and look at this, even if you step back, then bishop to c7 is also a threat. So too many attacking opportunities here for white. So if you try knight to c6 immediately, then we can, I think, immediately take out the pawn and go into a favorable middle game here for white. So that's why here from rook to f1, Boris Gelfand tried knight to g5. He tried to improve now the position. He's not allowing this tactical shot on h6 that we have seen would be a beautiful idea for white, but now queen to g3 anyway here by Vishy Anand. Now Boris Gelfand castles, and from this point on, Vishy will play one of the most beautiful attacks of all time. So Vishy is playing now really a dirty, brutal move, bishop to g5, and this is maybe not the most accurate move when it comes to computer relations, but now from black's perspective, you have to play every move in such a precision. If you make a slight inaccuracy, you will get destroyed. And here in the continuation, after bishop to g5, Boris Gelfand accepted the challenge. H takes g5, knight to g5, knight to g6, and now rook from a to e1. This is now a clear idea. When you are on the attacking side, you should apply the principle of using all of your pieces in the attack, and you should also apply the principle of the most active square. So you should consider, where is my best active square for the piece. Of course, the best active square for the rook, for instance, on from the rook on f1, it's not the square f1, it's maybe the square f5, or it's even maybe the square f6. So when we talk about the most potential activity, we want to attack our opponent's side of the board. So that's why first of all, you see how Vishy will apply the principle of using all of the pieces in the attack, and then he will apply the principle of the best active square. So here in the continuation, after rook from a to e1, we have queen to e7, and now, as we said, rook to f5. Why is this move so important? Because look at this, if you're trying something like b5, if you're trying maybe to include the bishop into the game, then Vishy would have played probably this move, queen to h3. Now the knight is protected and we're threatening checkmate. So the evaluation is +7 here for white. White is winning the game for sure. So this is not something that black should do. So you see how important it is to get this rook on f5, where it controls further the protection of the g5 knight. So that's why here in the continuation we have bishop to f6 here by Boris Gelfand, and now comes the stunner of the game, knight to e6. Look at this, how pressured the black is here with the support of the bishop, with the support of both of these rooks. If you take, then this knight is hanging. In the continuation, we get now f takes e6, although there is only one great great way to protect this position. You have to play rook to e8, and then the game is probably leading into equality, because now Vishy would have played probably, sorry, my screen moves. So after move rook to e8, Vishy would have stepped back, and now after something like bishop to e6, we have rook to e6. You have to take with the queen, bishop to e6, here rook to e6, and you can maybe protect this position going maybe into this lines, but still black would have a rook and two minor pieces for the queen, which is in my opinion playable. So the evaluation is slightly better here for black. So this was the only way to protect this push, but this is really hard to find. In the continuation, after knight to e6, Boris Gelfand played f takes e6, but now look at this, rook takes e6. We have king to g7. If you take, of course, bishop to e6, then you get this one, queen to g6. You have to cover with the queen, but look at this, bishop to e6, create new madness, and it would be game over. If you try rook to f7, then bishop to f7, you cannot even take, so it's game over here for black. So after move rook to e6, here king to g7 was played by Boris Gelfand. We have rook takes e7, bishop to e7, and now after rook to f8, bishop to f8, and h4. In this position, Boris Gelfand resigned because of course the serious threat is this move h5, so it's a really bad position for black. So great attack by Vishy Anand. You see how dirty really this Grand Prix attack can become when you activate all of your pieces. We have to say Boris Gelfand had some defensive chances, but it's really brilliant to see sometimes this sharp attacking lines, which are maybe even slightly inaccurate when it comes to computer evaluations now these days. But we want to see also some other opportunities. We want to see also really some beautiful traps in openings. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed the game. I really enjoyed it a lot. We'll cover, I think, more Vishy Anand games. I hope you don't mind. I really think they're great, with great attacking formations, with great attacking shots, with great tactics, with great sacrifices. I think they're really attractive. If you want to see more games from our Bad Chess Games of All Time series, here's the link of our whole playlist. We have covered really many great games from the past, and if you want to see even more brutal games, check out my comment chess games played by computers, with some great games played by the new Stalkers 15, Alpha 0, Lila 0, Dragon Engine, and many more. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and chess is the best, of course.